Hi guys, and welcome to this very first video of Madelon Talks. My name is Madelon, and today we're going to discuss the most important Bitcoin and crypto related news of the week. We're also going to discuss some macroeconomic perspective, and at the end of this video we're going to take a look at, of course, the chart of Bitcoin, my favorite part. But we're going to do this completely in English. You might know me from my Dutch channel, but on this channel we're going to do it in English, and I'm kind of nervous, also pretty excited to do so, but please don't blame me if my English isn't the best. I'm really going to give it a try to keep this level as high as on my Dutch channel as well. But first we're going to start by looking at the first news article, and this is not a news article, actually it's the tweet of Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy. And you might know MicroStrategy, a really big software company, and this software company started investing in 2020, and they invested over $1 billion at first. They invested it at a very low average price, but then the price started to rise. And what's so important about MicroStrategy investing again in Bitcoin is not the amount of cash that they put in. They put only 50 million in cash into Bitcoin at an average price of almost 60k per Bitcoin, and they've acquired now in total 91,000 Bitcoins for a total of 2.2 billion. But the most important about this news is that they're doing it by dollar cost averaging. So MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, is buying on a monthly basis. So we've seen the last couple of months that they bought 50 million in fiat currency against the Bitcoin price, of course, at the time. So they're buying every month. And this is a really important strategy. And I got a lot of questions from people that say, do I have to buy now? Do I know a lot about technical analysis? Am I too late already? Is the price going down so I can buy more Bitcoin? For those people who are not into trading, not into leverage trading, not into doing technical analysis, the most interesting strategy is to just buy on a monthly basis. And on my Dutch channel, I do the dollar cost average challenge, and in this challenge I started doing this challenge in I think it was September 2020, and you will see that I'm buying every month, and the regular price, the average price, is really low, and that's what he is doing as well. So if you're new to crypto and you're very interested in it, but you're not really into finding the right moment, then this strategy might suit you. And it's really important, in my opinion, that Michael Saylor, even Michael Saylor with those big amounts, is doing this. So we also found out that the new DOT evolved on a stock to flow cross asset model, the S2FX model. And you might know this model from Plan B. Plan B released this model in I think it was 2019. And after that, it got a lot of attention. I even interviewed Plan B in December 2020. I will tell the story later on, but first we have to take a look at this chart. So what do we see? We see that the lows on the chart are going higher. So every close, when we're doing technical analysis, you've got candles on the chart, right? And every candle is the close price. You will see the close price on the lowest part or on the highest part, and then you have the wicks on both sides. It depends. If the price is going down, the close will be here. If the price is going up, the close will be on the highest side. And here these dots are the close prices of the month. So if we take a look at the monthly prices, we will see that the price from January, the close price, was $5,000 higher than the price from December. And the price from February was even $12,000 higher. And the price from March, the close price, was even $13,000 higher. So we see that the price is getting higher and higher. And if we take a look at the cross asset model, we will see on the I don't know how you call it in English, but we will see on the horizontal line that the months until the next halving are put into colors on this chart. So take a look at this. Here we see that the halving is let's say 40, maybe 35 months away. So the next halving is over here in March 2024 or something like that. And what we see is that these dots still have to go upward, or at least we have some dots until we can reach a new all-time high. And if we take a look at this part, we have like 1, 2, 3, maybe four new dots. And if we take a look at this cycle, so we have like 2 cycles, the cycle from 2013 and the cycle from 2017. And if we take a look at this cycle, at the halving cycle, we will see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe even 7 months. So from now on, we have like 4 months. We're now in April, May, June, July, and even longer if we take a look at this cycle. So we have like July, what's next? August, then we have September, then we maybe even have October. So this rally can remain a lot of months extra still. And we've seen Plan B twittering that we will probably overshoot his stock to flow price, like we've seen the last 2 cycles. Here, his stock to flow price. Here, we see the stock to flow price again. And of course, the S2FX, the stock to flow, the normal model is around, I thought it was 100,000. But here is this white line is 288,000 USD. And we will probably overshoot this like we've seen before, and then we will probably go even down underneath. And we might not even see the prices we have seen this far. Plan B told me in December, people have no idea what's coming up next in 2021. And we probably haven't even seen it yet. And when thinking about what's going on in the market, when thinking about why the price of Bitcoin is going that high, it's really, really important to know what's going on fundamentally in this market. We haven't seen the economy moving like this before. Plan B is twittering, Bitcoin owners will be the modern equivalent of the landed aristocracy of the feudal age. Not having Bitcoin will be like not having land. The good news is everybody can participate in Bitcoin. You just have to choose to do so. And this is really important because Plan B is saying, he told me in December during the interview is in Dutch, unfortunately, but I will explain what he said. He said that with the rising price of Bitcoin, the economy isn't going to get better. The gap between the rich and the poor will probably get bigger. He even said we're going into a new renaissance. And with this whole pandemic thing going on, with people staying in homes, a lot of people losing jobs, a lot of money printing going on even, there is so much capital moving into the market that's for a reason. We also see that the prices are rising a lot, not only the asset prices, not only the housing prices, but also the prices in the supermarket. I will discuss it later on when looking at inflation. But there is so much going on that a rising price of Bitcoin doesn't mean that it has to be for a good reason. It's probably for even a bad reason, because that means that Bitcoin is needed more than ever. And as we saw in a tweet from Michael Saylor, as we've seen, the reason why Michael Saylor and even Tesla is buying Bitcoin is not because they just like Bitcoin. No, it's because they don't trust the US dollar standard anymore. They don't trust the fiat currency. They're just inflating the currency. But we'll discuss this later on. What we also seen about Bitcoin is that the hodlers are really cool to look at over time to see if they're like bullish or bearish. And if we take a look at this chart, we see that from January 2021 that they decreased in selling their position. So this is a decrease of selling, and we even almost see that the hodlers are buying more. So with the price of Bitcoin going up, they stopped selling, or at least they aren't selling as much as they did in January this year. So this is also really important to take a look at. And then we had Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley, one of the biggest investment banks in the United States, said that they are going to add some Bitcoin exposure to their 12 investment funds. And we have heard this before, like three or 4 weeks ago, when a memo was sent out, and they already were going into Bitcoin or something like that. They exposed it, but now they said in their 31st of March filing at the SEC that they have updated their investment policies and strategies, which is the section in their prospectus. It's a section in their prospectus, and they said that they are really interested in moving into Bitcoin. So I have to explain this, because usually when you have a fund, the fund is managed and the fund needs to write a prospectus. So the investors of the fund know what the fund will do or what the fund will not do. And they have just changed their 12th section. They've just changed their investment policies and strategies sections for 12 of their institutional portfolios. And these are not portfolios that are in the portfolio of let's say retail investors. No, they're very, very interesting for institutional investors. So what did they add? They add that they are interested in buying Bitcoin via the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust or cash-settled futures. Cash-settled futures are with a cash settlement, so there's no Bitcoin underneath. But under the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, there are Bitcoins underneath. So that means that there is probably coming more interest in Bitcoin via the Grayscale fund, via Morgan Stanley. So it's like via a lot of ways, but there is more interest in Bitcoin. And what's most important about institutional investments is that they usually can't get into Bitcoin really easily or really quick, because it's kind of hard for them. They have to go to the SEC or even to the Fed to ask for permission to take this leap and take the step. And with Morgan Stanley adding these to their 12 investment portfolios, it's getting easier for the big institutionals to get into this market as well. Then we saw Coinbase going public on the 14th of April. And to me, this is one of the most important things that happen, because Coinbase gets a stamp on them that they're real. The cryptocurrency market is here to stay, and a lot of banks are getting nervous. A lot of banks really want to get involved into the custodian service, so they want to provide an option for their customers to save their Bitcoin or to save their other cryptocurrencies at the bank. And we of course have seen Coinbase custody, but Coinbase is kind of taking over. And if we take a look at the valuation of this platform, I'm kind of interested in adding some of my account into this stock called Coin. It's really interesting, though. It's just for fun. But the valuation of this company is listed at around 100 billion. And that's quite big, because we heard that the Kralen CEO expects crypto firms to replace banks within a decade. And of course he says it because he's the CEO of Kralen, Jesse Paul, you might know him. But if we take a look at the valuation of the firm is like, I have to take a look at this, 20 billion. Of Kralen, and we have heard that Coinbase is worth like 100 billion. But if we compare this to the banks, and Jesse Powell said that they are going to compete with the banks and even maybe replace the banks. So if we're going to take a look at what the valuation of these banks are, let's say the Spanish bank Santander is listed at around 60 billion. And the English bank, Barclays, is listed at around 44 billion. So Coinbase might even be bigger than those banks. And it's really easy for them to just seize new opportunities, to just go into the market and, of course, offer all the options that regular banks are offering to their customers. And one of the things that came into mind lately, I don't have the news here, by the way, but we've seen a lot of banks in Europe, especially in Germany, but now also in Holland, saying if you want to have more interest on your money, you should definitely go and look for other banks around, because they might give you more for your money. And with this very weird situation of negative interest rates, with the economy going down, the growth slowing down of the economy, with money printing going higher and higher, the value of the economy, or at least the production value of the economy, is going down, and we see that the banks are not having that much anchor anymore, and we see that the crypto firms are kind of moving into this into the space that the banks were owning. So I'm sorry if my English isn't the best, but I'm really trying to explain what's going on over here. And we see that the crypto companies are fitting into the gap, and that's why I think Coinbase might be a nice stock to consider. And some Dutch news, I'm going to grab the news from America as well, but I just want to tell you that we've saw on the housing market, we've seen the highest increase in prices in over 20 years. And if we take a look at what's going on in the America's housing market, we see that this is unprecedented. We've never seen this before. The housing market is acting really weird. And what's weird about this is that the housing prices, for example, in San Jose, but also in like other very rich cities in America, Seattle, New York, Boston, Austin, San Francisco, Washington, even Los Angeles, Chicago, the rent prices fell double digits, but the housing prices rose. For example, in San Jose, we saw that the housing prices rose with over 14%. But in some areas, we saw the rents fell with over 7%. So what's going on? And if we take a look at what... Sorry, Siri wants to talk with us. But if we take a look at what's going on from economic perspective, we saw that economist Jeff Tucker said, "I can't think of a time when anything like this happened." So they're seeing a divergence between rental and home prices. This is unprecedented, is what he said. We've never seen this before. It's really strange. And what's going on? Well, some observers are saying there is a serve shortage on single family houses. But why does that mean that the rent prices are falling? Really strange, right? And we also saw that there is a wave of new young families seeking for more permanent houses, and there are more millennials in their 30s. But I think there is something other going on. The other point is that the plummet interest rates have encouraged people to seize opportunities to get cheap mortgages. They just can get easy money in an easier way, and they can get more money. Like it's really easier to get a house, for example, than it was like 20 years ago. And we see a divergence against, and they call it the K-shape. We've seen this before. I talked about this on my Dutch channel a lot of times. On my Dutch channel, I've talked about the K-shape, and this is because we saw the stock prices going up, but the economy going down, and the production value of these companies going down as well. So the stock prices rose, but their production didn't. And the gap between the normal economy and the stock market was going like the other way around. And that's what we see with the rent prices and the housing prices as well right now. We see the K-shape, and this can be a very, very good thing. We haven't seen this before, and we also don't know really how to deal with what's going on. Understanding this divergence begin with understanding the broader divergence for the K-shaped economy, in which the K represent forking fortunes and the rich the poor during the pandemic. Also, we see the difference and the gap getting wider, like I spoke about a couple of minutes ago, the gap getting wider between the poor and the rich. So we also saw, and we almost see this on the S&P 500, for example, we're near a new all-time high. And here in Holland, we already saw a new all-time high for the AEX, which is the Dutch index. We saw a new all-time high, and the last all-time high was listed on, I would think it was 703 points in 2000. So during the during the tech bubble, it was at 2000, and now we see that also the stock market, the S&P 500 is moving to territory. We're probably going down again, but we're moving to territory which is called new all-time highs. But my mind, I can't get my head around what's going on in these markets, because the stock market is going upward, but the economy is like going down the drain. But we've seen in 2020 that there is an unprecedented amount of money printed. 21% of the total amount of USD is printed in 2020. So that can be a good thing. And if we take a look at this tweet of Dan Health, the official inflation rate in the US. Inflation rate is what measures how much you can purchase with your money. Your purchasing rate is it, for example. So if the inflation rate is high, you can buy a bit less than you could last year. And the economic theory is saying we need at least 2% inflation. And in my opinion, that's not really how it works. And we see in practice that it doesn't really work that way. But okay, it's fine. So they have a way to measure inflation. And for example, this way to measure inflation, in my opinion, it's not really the way it should go. For example, they don't put in the basket of inflation. They don't put in the housing prices or what it costs to buy a house. They look at what mortgages cost. And that price is really low right now. The interest rates are really low. So the real inflation rate following the US official CPI is 1.5%. But if we take a look at the other products, besides housing prices, besides stock market going up, we see this tweet of Dan Health, and we see that a lot of things are going up. For example, home values, we just spoke about it, 8%. Stock market, 23%. Money supply, we spoke about this as well, 24%. But we also see that soybeans, wheat, steel, corn, oil are also going up in price. And this can be a good sign. This cannot be a good sign. And if we take a look, for example, at the used car prices, we see them going up as well. And if you want to know more about this, if you want to know about the price index, where it comes from, if it goes up or if it goes down, you can just take a look at the ECB figures. I can also take a look, by the way, next week at the figures of the Fed. But for example, we in the Netherlands had the highest CPI with 1.9% last week. And you need to take into account, if there is an inflation rate of 2%, this means that the prices are going up 2% each year. So if you have money in the bank, your money will go down in purchasing power each year by 2% at least. And what's the most important fact about this is if you take a look on a longer scale, longer time frame. Let's say, for example, we have 1 meter. And the government says every year we can extend that 1 meter with 2%. Within 10 years or 20 years, we have 2 meters, but we still call it 1 meter. And that's what's happening right now. That's what's happening in the US economy. And if you take a look at the purchasing power of, for example, $1, you will see that from the beginning of the Federal Reserve, the purchasing power of $100 has decreased from $100 to only $2. So I always say, like right now, you can buy with $100,000, you can buy a Porsche, and over a time period of 20 years, you can only buy a Volkswagen, or for example. So that's what purchasing power does. And right now, there is something really strange going on. So the Mr. Powell, I was searching for the words, Mr. Jerome Powell said before that the purchasing power is the inflation rate isn't high enough. And I don't know why they really want to have inflation, or I do know why they really want to have inflation, because that's why that we live in a world that's based on debt. And if you have higher deflation, then the debt will be then you have to pay more for that debt. So you really want to inflate your debt, so it will be less on average. And that's why they do this, of course. And they also say, yeah, if you know that your money is getting worth less, then you will spend earlier, and then the economy will flow again. But I don't think that theory will be true. But okay. But really important about this is take a look at what's going on, and also keep in mind that there is something really strange going on. And I heard this conversation of Daniela Cambone and Lynette Zhang, and I really want to point out, or let Lynette Zhang point out what's going on here and why this is really strange and why this is important to know. And if you take a look at Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, this is not only about earning money. In my opinion, it's not about earning money. And there is a saying that says it's not about getting rich quick, it's about not getting poor slowly by, of course, inflation. Let's hear what Lynette Zhang has to say about this.
About inflation, you say they're getting prepared or trying to find a solution because they're going to have runaway inflation soon. Let's get your thoughts on that.
Well, you remember when they used to target 2%, and that clearly, according to their data, wasn't working. And then they started talking about, well, an average of 2%. And
yeah, so she's saying that they really want to have 2%, but according to their data, it wasn't happening. But of course it was, but according to their data, it wasn't. So they're now going to overshoot this to average it out.
And when they came out with that, what I knew was they were preparing for much higher inflation, and we'll use that, but it's an average. So we were expecting it, and that's exactly what we're seeing now, right? The markets are concerned about the 10-year got up to what, 1.75 today, which doesn't sound that high, but it was only 0.66, you know.
I mean, historically not high, but it's a 14-month high. So
exactly.
Right.
And, and what do they say? The Fed is saying, no, it's because the economy is just growing so well when they're pumping so much money into the system.
Yeah, so the economy is not growing well. They're just pumping more money into the system. That's what she's saying exactly, because we know that the economy isn't doing well because we're in the middle of a pandemic.
So, yeah, I think they could be losing control.
So does this tie in, because how do they regain control? What tools do they have in the toolbox to do so here, Lynette?
Just buying more product, buying more treasury bonds.
Yeah, they're just buying up everything. They're buying everything. Right now in Holland, we even see that they're willing to buy, that the IMF suggested to buy even the smaller capped companies, the MKB as it's called in Holland, the smaller capped companies. So they're not even buying the stocks. They're not even, we know, for example, that the Bank of Switzerland is buying stocks. They're buying Tesla, they're buying Apple, and they do that for a reason. They don't have any idea how to control the economy even more. So we're on a really important time frame right now. We're in the middle of something huge. You know what's going on. You're probably locked up at home, and this is not a good point for the economy, for the poor. For the poor will get more poor, and the rich will probably get more rich, like they always do. But there is something in between For example, what we see on the Bitcoin price, we see that the Bitcoin price is rising, and that's for a reason. A lot of people don't trust the fiat system anymore. A lot of companies don't trust the fiat system anymore, and that's for a reason as well. And it's the same reason. They're inflating their currency. We see prices going up, not only on the stock market, we also see normal price, just a consumer price inflation. And I think, in my opinion, Bitcoin is the first asset that's showing hyperinflationary aspects. And this is really important because if you know the bigger picture, and that's what I really want to do with this Madelon Talks, with these videos, what I really want to explain is that Bitcoin might be the option for this complete reset of the economy. So it's a complete mess right now, and just know what's going on. And I'm going to lead the way. I'm going to explain what's going on during the couple of weeks we have, during the couple of months that are coming next. And by the way, if you didn't press the subscribe button or the thumb, please press the thumb down below and press the subscribe button. And if you want to get notified when there's a new video online, just click on the bell. And right now we're going to take a look at the chart of Bitcoin, because this is what I love to do the most. When I'm stressed, I always look at charts. You can wake me up in the middle of the night for a perfect chart. This is just what I love to do the most. So we're going to take a look at the daily at first. We're going to start. I will just start over here and take a look at what happened here. I usually take a look at the smaller time frame, but just take this into account. I got the Bitstamp exchange, which has a lot of volume, so that's nice to chart on. I'm looking at the Heikinashi candles, and we're having a log scale, so you will see on this side of the vertical part of the chart. And here we see this very big symmetrical triangle. We broke out of this symmetrical triangle. We had a target point. Target point was hit after we went into the rally. The rally started in like late November, middle of November, maybe even the middle of December, when we started to reach the last all-time high. And then we saw something special evolve. Starting in December. In December, we managed to get this very important support line. And every time we hit a new all-time high, we saw that the price went down. The price went down. We formed a cup and handle. And after the cup and handle, we had a new target point. Target point was reached, and then we came into the new rally towards the new all-time high. Here we saw it again. Falling wedge, cup and handle, and then we've managed, after this pattern, to get a new all-time high. And we saw it here again. We saw this falling wedge managed to get upwards, and now we are forming some sort of cup and handle. Not really, but you can see what I mean. Here we have some sort of formation that's bottoming out, and that's really important to look at right now. So we're going to take a look at the 1 hour chart. We see the 1 hour here, and we're still in this upward trend. Here we saw an upward trend. Now the upward trend is a bit slowing down a bit, and here we see the same as well. But we're in the middle of this, and to be honest, I don't have this glass bowl to take a look at and predict the future or something like that. No, we can just see what the trend is like, and from fractal analysis, so from fractal point, you can see a lot. If we take a look at charts are all based on emotions, and right now we're in the middle of, take a look at the RSI. We're probably around 45, something like that. So the RSI is stuck in the middle. We also see that the volume is quite normal. If we break out, you want to see high volume. If we break out downward, you want to see higher than average. So let's say, for example, we want to see a lot of candles which are this high. We don't see it right now. And if we break out upward, we want to see the volume that high as well. For example, like maybe even this high, but we want to see a lot of candles to confirm the upward movement. So right now, I can't say much about what's going on. We're in the middle of this upward trend, and we're probably going to break out, but we're not sure when. I would like draw this a bit like this. We just have to wait for a new pattern to evolve. This might be a cup and a handle, but it's not really the same as we saw over here. This was way more obvious, and this just isn't. But if we break, I will like draw one more horizontal line. If we break this horizontal line, let's say it's 59,300. If we break upwards, so above, we have a very high price target, which is even higher than the last all-time high. But for now, we're not seeing this. So this is a really important line to keep an eye on. And we've got this horizontal line to keep an eye on. And we will probably, before the 11th, we will break out. It's now the 4th, I think. I don't know, it's the 6th already, sorry. So we will see a breakout at the end of this week probably, and I will notify you next week what has happened, of course. I will let you know if we will see a new pattern or something like that, and I would really like to know what you think of this video. I did my best to explain myself in English in the best way, and also let me know what kind of news you want to see, what you liked the most or what you didn't like. You can also let me know that. Put your message down below. You can do it over here. And if you want to support this channel, also make sure to press the subscribe button. And if you want to support this channel even more, just click on the links down below. You can use the links down below. If you want to use a broker or whatever, or an exchange, you can use the links down below. And for now, I would really like to thank you. And if you want to know more, I would recommend you to go to my Instagram page, to my stories, or maybe even to my Twitter account. I will show you right now. You can find me on Twitter as well. I get the laser eyes, of course. And I will keep you posted. We'll keep you more updated about the latest news. And for now, I would really like to wish you a very nice week. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to press your thumbs up, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.